Good afternoon, good morning everybody, and welcome to round 9, race 18 of the 2016 TCR International Series. And once again we are in Singapore supporting the Formula One race. Today though is a very different challenge to yesterday's night race, because this is held in the very heat of the day. My name is Ben Costenduris. Thank you so much for joining us, especially if you're watching from Europe, because you'd have had to get up pretty early to enjoy what should be a fantastic day's worth of racing. And we have our reverse top 10 grid. And because of the split between the two races, we do not have that problem of parc fermé problems, so all the cars are on the grid. We have a grid of 20 cars because we are joined by a few cars from the TCR Asia series, and they will join us both here in Singapore. They will also join us in Malaysia and for the final weekend of the season in Macau. Here is how they'll line up then. Mikhail Grashov is alongside Dusan Borkovic at the front of the grid on row 1. Sergei Afanasyev and Attila Tassi will start on row 2. This is reverse of the top 10 from qualifying, the provisional result. Nash and Oriola on the 3rd row, Morbidelli and Camini on the 4th, Homola and Venet on the 5th, and then Kevin Gleeson and Peter Fullin in the Alfa Romeo will start P12. Jordi Oriola in the Opel Astra in 13th, David Kajaya, then Galliana, who's switched to Target for this weekend, and then the Asia drivers, Felipe de Souza, in fact he's in the International Series, he's driving for Liqui at Team Enxler. Martin Chow in the Ford Focus TCR, fantastic to have them here. And then Koo and Loris Heismans back in the championship, being run in a brand new Target competition Seat. So Target are here, great to have the championship winning team back for since the start of the year. They obviously arrived at the start of the year with the Opel in Bahrain, but struggled with that, and they are now running one Honda and one Seat. So fantastic to have them here, but so far not particularly strong, with Galliana and Heismans further back on the grid. Mikhail Grashov, a reminder, 3-time victor already this season. The second most successful driver in TCR International this season, not necessarily points-wise, but for those outright victories, he's done incredibly well. And he starts on pole alongside Dusan Borkovic. Borkovic will be desperate to take a victory, because he yet to take a win in TCR International. There is the Russian Mikhail Grashov. Ever since he switched to West Coast Racing, a real upturn in form. He inherits the pole position thanks to finishing P10 in qualifying. And this amazing shot of the grid rundown. There is Galliana with Tech Pro alongside. Hopefully he won't visit any of his Tech Pros, which line this circuit. So we're talking about Dusan Borkovic, the incredibly tall Serbian, will be desperate to get a good start into the first corner and look for his first victory of the year. B3 Racing do have a victory already, thanks to Mato Homola. But coming into the season, it was Borkovic who was one of the championship favourites after his results in WTCC and ETCC. But they haven't got it together, and a lot of the drivers slightly fearful of his very strong approach. Sergei Afanasyev, one of only 2 drivers to have competed in every single TCR International Series race. 37 races we've now had, but Sergei yet to take a victory. A star, an absolute star in GTs and single-seaters, but so far hasn't got the best out of his Craft Bamboo Lukoil front-wheel drive Seat. Perhaps a good opportunity for him starting P3. Certainly one of the strongest teams. There's a look over Marina Bay, and the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. A wonderful showcase event for the TCR International Series, both this and Malaysia alongside the Formula One Grand Prix. And a real privilege to be part of this package. And then we go on to Macau, which of course is the jewel really to finish and climax your season at such a prestigious event, such a tricky event. So 2 street circuits in the last 3 races, or 3 meetings. Only 5 races left of the championship now. Track temperature is nearing 50 degrees. So preserving your tyres is going to be incredibly hard. The air temperature at 33, humidity up at 50%. It'll be a very sticky affair inside these TCR cars. And look at the Drivers' Championship. Camini now leads by 1 point ahead of Nash and 1 point ahead of Oriola. John Carbonet will be wanting a good result here to haul himself into the championship fight. Morbidelli's already ruled himself out, as Mato Homolo will be hoping to get into the top 4 fight, but I think after Oschersleben he was leading the championship, much to his surprise, but has some bad results since that point and has dropped down into 5th position. But Venet will really want a strong result, with his championship protagonist having weaker results, and that will allow him to go into Malaysia with 4 rounds remaining, really in the hunt. But then the Leopard Racing team will also have this problem that Bamboo have, managing their 2 drivers as they go through the championship deciding phase. So hard for the team who want the best for all 3 cars. They won't be favouriting anybody, as Oriola throws the car sideways to try and generate some tyre temperature in the rear wheels. I'm sure you're aware, these are front-wheel drive cars. The rear wheels do no driving, and obviously they don't do much steering. They kind of just follow what the front of the car does, and therefore difficult to get temperature into them. With a rear-wheel drive car, whether it be a single-seater or a GT car, it's all about burnouts and spinning up the rear tyres, but obviously with the front-wheel drive car, far less easy to do that. A look over the Padang stage, an amazing lineup off track here in Singapore, with Kylie Minogue playing on Friday night and then Queen playing on Saturday night, and Imagine Dragons after the Formula 1 race this evening. Capacity 50,000 stadium, and completely free to everybody who comes to the Singapore Grand Prix. This really is a wonderful street venue, designed by Herman Tilke. Took him a year and a half to come up with the concept, to work out which roads could be closed and which roads could be modified and which roads had to stay open to allow the city to continue to function over the weekend. These roads do open up in the evenings. So the TCR International Series, the first race on the circuit on Sunday. There's been street movement on the track. Crucially, there's also been about 3 inches of rain overnight. We had a huge thunderstorm, and therefore the track is going to be quite a lot greener than they may have experienced last night when they raced between the Free Practice 3 and qualifying at the Formula 1. A wonderful slot gifted to them by FOM. Adriana Borkovic feeling the nerves, a professional basketball player herself. Played in America in the women's NBA for a few years. She knows about competitive spirit. Her and Dusan almost wind each other up. They are such a competitive couple. And this is not necessarily Dusan's best opportunity of a victory, because he's actually had pole positions already this season. But he is yet to convert that into a victory. But it's worth pointing out, huge support for Dusan in Serbia. Huge support from David Kijaya in Georgia, and TCR have already announced that we are visiting Georgia in 2017, a circuit that has never been used for international motorsport, a country that's never really known international motorsport. And so a huge coup for the TCR International Series, a huge promotion for all of those in Georgia. And we look forward to having an amazing event there next year. Borkovic very late to get over to the left-hand side, because it's dirty on the inside. We don't use that part of the track unless it is for the starts of races, and so a disadvantage if you are on the left side of the circuit, no doubt, but you do have the inside line for the first corner. This is going to be so hard to get these hard Michelin tyres to grip and propel these cars into the first turn with a track temperature nearing 50 degrees. All the cars are now in position, all 20 vehicles. The lights illuminate, and a little creep from Brasov, but he then stops his car and gets going again. Very equal start from the top four. James Nash had a better start, but then found himself kind of blocked in, didn't know where to go. He's going to try and go round the outside of Attila Tassi, but there isn't any space there. And all very well behaved at the front as they go through. Jordi Oriola in the Opel Astra in the mix of things. And Jean-Carl Vernet doesn't look like he's made a particularly good start. So dangerous to start right in the centre of the pack. And in fact, he's now under pressure from Matto Hommler, who looks down the inside. Vernet needs to be careful here not to have contact. But Hommler at turn 5 makes the move and puts Vernet down one position into the clutches of that Opel Astra run by Kissling Motorsport this weekend. Lovely to have a new model back and a little bit of contact between Nash and Tassi as Tassi defends the inside line. That's going to compromise their exit out of 7, and here comes Morbidelli, but he's going to find himself on the wrong part of the circuit. Hommler attacks Gleeson further back. Contact between the two of them, and we've got a little bit of a traffic jam further back. I think the Opel may well be compromised. He is. The Opel, the Alfa Romeo and the Ford now running together, the new brands in TCR. Wonderful to have them joining Seat and Honda. And of course, Volkswagen as well. So 6 brands on the grid here in Singapore. And still a lot of squabbling going on. Big defense from James Nash into turn 13, the slowest turn of this particular circuit. Very hard to overtake because it comes off Anderson Bridge, which is the narrowest part of the circuit as well. Nash has Morbidelli and then Oriola and Camini. So those 3 and Morbidelli, a very fast peddler, the championship protagonists. Then Hommler behind, and then Jean-Carl Vernet. Jean-Carl Vernet needs to seriously get a wriggle on now. This is the time to do it whilst the tyres are fresh, because no doubt with a track temperature of 50 degrees, they're going to go off very, very quickly. Such a challenge, the Singapore GP. Not a huge amount of space for error. The walls lining this street circuit. It's about 80% street circuit. Krashov miles away from the apex through the penultimate turn. Dusan Borkovic second, Afanasiev third. Then it's Tassi, Nash, Morbidelli, Oriola, Camini, Hommler, Vernet, and Gleeson falls outside the top 10 positions. That was because of that contact. Gleeson is in 16th spot, but I think all the cars that were involved in that scuffle have continued. Certainly advantage Hommler, because it was he that attacked Gleeson, and Hommler stays in 9th position, but Gleeson down to 16th. Great to have Gleeson back. He was the winner of this, the winner of the night race last year. He has 2 victories in the TCR International Series already. And there is the start. Very equal between the front 4. Look further back, a good start from Rafael Galliana in the Target Honda. He's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows back, 7 rows back. He comes across the circuit. Oriola tries to squeeze him. That's Jordi Oriola in the Opel. And then he has the inside line. Very well behaved in the first couple of rows, but look further back and it got a bit more frantic. The Opel and the Alfa Romeo going side by side. Vernet on the inside, but kind of bulked in. And this was Nashing, defending on Morbidelli. Yeah, Gleeson just turned over across the nose of Matto Hommler. Certainly not Hommler's fault. He had a little bit of a nose down the inside. Perhaps he should have backed out of it. There was only probably a 3rd overlap. Interesting to see if the stewards do anything about that. James Nash under pressure, defending from Gianni Morbidelli. Needs to hold on to that 5th position. Came here with the championship lead and lost it after the first race. He is the heaviest car on the grid, with 30 kilos of ballast after his race 1 victory. Oh no! Loris Heisemans has just had a disaster this weekend. Drive shaft failure in race 1, problems in qualifying, and now out of race 2 as well. Great pressure from Attila Tassi at the moment, 16-year-old. He might have turned 17 by now, but he's the youngest driver in the TCR field. And he's looking to try and grab 3rd position and get on the tail of his teammate. Oriola slow out the final turn, under pressure from Camini. Remember, those two are championship protagonists. Not necessarily the best of friends on track. We've seen all kinds of frivolities last season when they were fighting over the championship, and it's now starting to get a little bit hot between the two of them. A little bit of an overlap between the two. Camini's going to try and go around the outside here, but Oriola's wise to that. Now, get in the slipstream, Stefano. It's a long old run down Raffles Avenue. And the braking zone at the end is the hardest. Here comes Attila Tassi down the inside of Sergei Afanasiev, but Afanasiev covers it, and he's now going to run super wide. Surely Attila Tassi will have that, but no. Afanasiev has the inside line and holds the position. Not only that, but now brings James Nash into the party. Come on, Tassi. Yeah, there needs a bit of TCR, argy-bargy. Bit of contact between the two of them. Oh, no, but Tassi does too much. There's touching and then there's hitting, and he's put Sergei Afanasiev hard into the wall. And now side by side, Gianni Morbidelli goes with Oriola, and Camini's going to try and follow through, but this is the narrowest part of the circuit. Oh, and he's gone sideways, and that's compromised Oriola. Oriola's lost 4 positions in that move. This is what we were expecting. Now here comes Mato Homola up the inside of Attila Tassi. Tassi's run wide, he's lost 2 positions. Vinay's gone through. Hurrah, we've got some action in the TCR International Series. Yellow flags, though, flying around the circuit. I wonder if we're going to see a safety car. We do have the safety car boards out. Yeah, yellow flags all the way around, so no overtaking now. And that's understandable. Afanasiev hard into the wall, big damage for the Russian. I was kind of cheering Attila Tassi on to do a bit more attacking, but he kind of attacked a bit too hard, didn't he? There is the wonderful Formula One safety car. Just a beautiful piece of kit to look at, but also sounds awesome. They do a track inspection on Thursday evening in that car, and it kind of is the punctuation of the start of the weekend, and you can hear it all the way around, the sound echoing off the buildings. Here's a replay then. Tassi goes up the inside. It was a very late defense from Afanasiev, and then Afanasiev actually turns across Attila Tassi's nose. Tassi really couldn't do much more there. It'll be interesting to see how the race director and race stewards read that. Then here is Oriola, probably optimistically trying to go up the inside through this turn. The tiniest of contact puts Morbidelli sideways, but Morbidelli then spins into the path of Oriola and compromises him so that they both lose quite a few positions. Oh dear, so Sergei Afanasiev DNFs for the very first time in... No, that's not true at all. I was about to say DNFs for the first time in TCR, but that's not right. He's started every single race. He hasn't finished them all. Brashov leads, Borkovic second, Nash now in 3rd position. Oh dear. No, it's German. My German's awful. But we had problems with Liqui Team Enxler yesterday. Both cars retired, and I hope we don't see more problems again. Now, I think that's going to be a tricky place to recover Afanasiev's car. It's kind of... I'm hoping that there is an access point. There is, just behind the camera. You can see on the left-hand side there. So once all these cars have gone past, they'll drag his car to safety. A long lap around here, so we shouldn't be under safety car for too long. At this pace, we'll be doing 3.5-minute laps at least. And that should be enough time to get Afanasiev's car up through the gap there. Let's see here. Oh yeah, you can't keep turning across the circuit when you've got so much on the left-hand side. I'm afraid, although I shouldn't be really portioning blame at all, that does kind of fall to the responsibility of Afanasiev. There's no need for him to tighten on the exit. There was no need to try and cover off. And there was another view of Morbidelli. Tiniest of taps from Oriola. And actually compromised both of their races hugely. Time to recover the rather sorry-looking Seat. Obviously, Craft Bamboo do have an Asian base now, thanks to their partnership with Craft, a racing team. They used to be just Bamboo Racing, based out of Silverstone, but now with the Craft link, not only can they pick up commercial deals over in Asia, they run cars in Asian GT, and they do have a base, so they can take that car and get it fixed. Now, Race Control are not investigating the Afanasiev problem, but they are investigating Oriola and Morbidelli. Interesting. And normally, if they're investigating it after the very clear replays that we've been provided by FOM, they will possibly be giving a penalty out, but they both compromised themselves. They both lost position, so you can't really penalise Morbidelli. He was the car in front, but I don't really think Pepe Oriola did enough bad, really. And either way, if he did, he kind of compromised himself anyway. He's now 9th. He's only going to go pick up 1 or 2 positions. Although, yeah, Morbidelli and Oriola are the cars to blame. Pepe Oriola has said to me a couple of races ago, all I need to do is score decent points in both races. And all he seems to do is score decent points in one race and have problems either mechanical or out on track on the second. And that is one of the main reasons why James Nash is so strong in this championship, because consistently he's been there. He hasn't scored standout victories. He has scored victories. He's had 2 wins this season. But he never blows everybody away. He just simply picks up the points, race by race, consistently. And over the years, we've seen that from James Nash in his standout performances in his career. Stefano Camini doing the same thing, although Camini is more of an aggressive driver. Camini has an aggression that he gets away with. Oriola has an aggression that sometimes boils over and causes problems, and Nash doesn't tend to be that aggressive. It means he stays out of trouble, it means he picks up points. And that's one of the big things in touring cars. Triple world champion Andy Priya would tell you that, for one. Right, so Grashov is in the lead of the race. He's got 3 wins to his name. If he takes victory here, it'll be his 4th win of the 2016 season. That will equal Oriola. That will be an absolutely amazing performance, but Borkovic will be desperate to get onto the tail of Grashov and fight him for victory. Going to have half the race left. The safety car is going to come in this lap. We're going to see the safety car's lights off above, and they need to really get a wriggle on now and bunch up. They're really spread out further back. Borkovic needs to properly concentrate now. We know he can be aggressive. We know he's one of the last of the late breakers, and this is the main opportunity for Dusan to make it happen here. He's got to think about getting a good exit out of 5 and down into turn 7, a big braking zone, send it up the inside. That is what he needs to do. That'll be what he'll be thinking. At least he's got the top 10 cars bunched up. There's a bit of a gap then to David Kajaya in 10th position, and we are racing again here in Singapore. Oh, James Nash has not made a good restart, and Camini's all over him like a rash. Camini wide on the final turn. Oh, that was Jean Carbonet. Nash goes defensive into turn one. Camini looks about sending it up the inside, but it's not big enough of a braking zone to do so. Camini knows he'll line himself up further round the lap, because as the circuit winds its way left, right, it gives the advantage to one or the other car. Again, Camini looks down the inside. Oh, Oriola with the penalty, no way. Race direction has decided it was his fault with the contact with Gianni Morbidelli, and he's going to have to do a drive-through, and that'll be no points, and that'll be a real hammering to his championship. Here comes Jean Carbonet on Matto Hommler. Further back, Kevin Gleeson fighting with Attila Tassi. Gleeson tries to go round the outside and holds on, and that, I think that's full position. Tassi's had a problem, I think. He came over the line in 7th, he's dropped back. Oriola, Tassi, and Kajaya. Sorry, I'm reading my cars wrong, aren't I? It's Hommler, no, I wasn't. It was Morbidelli passing Tassi, not Kevin Gleeson. Rashoff leads, nice little advantage. Camini going super defensive on Hommler. So Camini's obviously attacked James Nash somewhere and found himself compromised, and that put him into the clutches of Hommler, but now Hommler's been compromised and Jean Carbonet is on the tail of him. We've got a yellow flag somewhere in the early part of the lap. Carbonet couldn't find a way past though outside of Memorial. There's Douglas Koo, and he's been having a turbulent weekend. Problems in qualifying, found himself in the wall in race 1. But he recovers. He's going to be one of our talking points, I think, for the last 3 remaining races of the season. 2 races now, especially in Macau. Douglas in his first season of racing and really struggling. Right, so Pepe Oriola is going to take a drive-through. That's going to be no points for Oriola, whereas Nash at the moment in 3rd position is going to take a big chunk out of him. It's going to be a 2-horse race at the front at the end of this race if it stays as it is. And Vinay is going to be possibly in the close to Oriola in terms of points. This is the amazing thing about the TCR International Series. It fluctuates so much. Oriola into the pits, Tassi also into the pits. He had contact, remember, so potential problem for Tassi. Oriola takes his drive through and he's going to come out something like 12th or 13th position. Now, we didn't see what happened in... Oh, we did. Douglas Koo. That was the yellow flags. Hommler doesn't need to defend this time from Jean Carbonet. Oh, disappointment for Tassi. Started the day in 3rd. He was fighting for a podium, but rather got bullied and some damage to his car. Rashoff still under control at the front. Borkovic can't do anything about him. Nash now under pressure from Camini again. It always fluctuates lap after lap, almost half a lap after half a lap, and now Nash needs to worry about his mirrors because Stefano Camini is trying to find a way through here. With a track temperature of 50 degrees and a car 30 kilos heavier than some of its Seat rivals, 60 kilos lighter is Stefano Camini. We've got Galliana and Wee off. And that is at the braking zone at Memorial. They're both facing the wrong direction. Oh, so Galliana tried to overtake. Galliana tried to overtake the Ford Focus and then lost it, and actually Wee just went in avoidance. So there's been no contact between the two of them. We're hearing from the pits that it's a steering problem for Tassi, just one too many bangs on the steering rod, no doubt. These Seats are built strong, but they can't take too much of a battering. Oh, we've got safety car going out again. Oh, no, that's a shame. Yellow flag and safety car, and that will be for Galliana and Wee, but neither of them make contact. So, in theory, they should both be able to run. There is the fresh face of Attila Tassi, the next Hungarian hope. Quite sure why they can't just drive away from that. They haven't even, Wee hasn't even made contact with the barrier, has he? The barrier looks like it's been slightly moved. It's a little bit strange. Means that we may well get ourselves a one-lap blast to the flag. Because these cars are undamaged, so they should easily be able to move. But what you tend to find in such temperatures, when the engine temperature is so high, that the fuel that goes into the engine actually kind of vaporizes and therefore doesn't operate properly, especially in classic cars. Happens a lot. So perhaps such is the temperature under bonnet that they can't get the cars restarted. This is good news for James Nash. It means that his tyres won't be quite as badly worn as perhaps a full race distance would have done to them. So I was saying, he's 60 kilos heavier than Stefano Camini behind. Volkswagens have a slight weight break. Was all part of the balance of performance. They go past those two stricken cars. And simply, as long as they can get them out of gear, the marshals should be able to push those two cars quite quickly out the way, and we can go racing. You need to go racing for one last lap, please. Sort this out. Quick look at the two cars that we've got new to this weekend. Great stuff from FRD to have the Ford Focus TCR here. It's a really, really good looking car. I really like the look of it. And now some discussions as to getting rid of these cars. Let's not take too much time over it, guys. Yeah, the FRD Ford is a really good-looking piece of kit, but this is its debut, really, in the TCR International Series. We've seen a different build of Ford last year, built by Onyx. And then just in front of that Ford is the Opel Astra. We saw that at the start of the year in Bahrain, being run by Target Competition. We've seen it successful in other TCR National Series, but we have not seen it in the International Series since the start of the season. Not really sure why Race Control need to investigate that. Simply, Galliana lunged up the inside of Heisman's, not Heisman's, the Ford of Chow, lost the rear end of his car under braking, and then we just tried to avoid him, so there was no contact between anybody. So there's the Opel Astra, there's the Ford. Sad not to have the Subarus with us this weekend after racing with them in Thailand. We hope to see them back again soon, but quite frankly, the temperature here is just too much. We are gonna not go racing again, are we? Unless we can get the... No, we're not gonna go racing, that's a shame. So the checkered flag will be shown at the 30 minutes duration of the race to the leading car. And therefore, this is the final lap. And this is the results then. So James Nash will take the lead of the championship by just 2 solitary points, would you believe? Come on, steer. Steer. There we go. And Oriola ended the race in 14th, Pepe Oriola. Brother Geordie in 11th. And Kevin Gleeson will pick up some more points. He's in 10th, the Alfa Romeo 9th, as you can see there. So Peter Fullin managing to get the car. He had some engine issues yesterday, but the Alfa Romeo good enough. And Grashov, therefore, is going to take his 4th victory of the season. Wow. And they've all come since Imola, since changing from Liqui-Moly Team Enxler to the West Coast Honda. What would have happened if Grashov had started the season with West Coast? gives West Coast their 6th victory of the season. It means they're as successful as Craft Bamboo this year. Honda takes their 6th win as well, because obviously West Coast the only full season competitors. And it will be Honda's 12th win of the year of the TCR International Series. On the all-time winners list, by the way, Stefano Comini has won 8 TCR International Series races. Oriola is now on 6th. And then you've got Gianni Morbidelli and Mikhail Grashov on 4. Morbidelli only 1 win this season. So the safety car will come in to the pits, but the drivers, I don't know if we're working to Formula One regulations here, because the safety car line dictates when you can overtake. So actually, that means that we might have overtaking in the last 2 corners. That was the regulation in Formula One, but it's not adopted normally by other championships. So let's see what happens here. So the yellow flags are withdrawn. The safety car line is around here. You can see then, there is the safety car line. So you can overtake from there to the end of the lap, but of course, it's basically an acceleration zone, so there is no chance to overtake, and therefore the checkered flag flies. It is Grashov ahead of Borkovic, and James Nash will mount the podium in 3rd position as your championship leader. Comini 4th, Hommler in 5th, and Jean-Carl Venet will be in 6th position. Morbidelli picks up points, Kajaya picks up points in 8th, Full in 9th, and Gleeson in 10th. Oh, that was a big shame, wasn't it? It was just starting to kick off when Afanasiev was in the wall. And what a shame that we couldn't clear those cars in time down at Memorial. So the rest of the field head back to their garages, which are in the multi-storey car park for the Singapore Flyer. And the top 3 head around the circuit to mount the podium here in Singapore. Do you know what? They'll be really, really hot, because they'll have no air at all flowing through that car, because they've been running at slow speeds. The sun is beating down on them, 35 degrees air temperature now. And they will have basically just boiled up in the car. They probably would have preferred to have gone a bit faster. Grashov's already got the windows down. I wonder how he gets his windows down, because most of these cars have taken out the electronic windows, because it's obviously a heavy part, the electronics that manage the windows. So normally they're kind of automatic old school winders, but you could do that on the left side, but you definitely couldn't do that on the right side. Confirmation of the result then. Grashov takes victory ahead of Dusan Borkovic, and James Nash will mount the podium in 3rd position. Stefano Comini, 4th spot, Hommler 5th, and Venet only 6th position. That's a shame that he wasn't able to get any more progress for the championship. Morbidelli 7th, Kajai 8th, Alfa Romeo, Peter Fullin in 9th, and Kevin Gleeson was the last of the points scorers. The Opel Astra is just missing out, as did the Ford Focus. And then the big shock. Pepe Oriola, only 14th after getting a drive-through penalty for contact with Morbidelli, and that effectively could ruin his championship. There is going to be a very, very, very angry Pepe Oriola, and probably Daddy Oriola as well. He'll be hot, he'll be frustrated, he'll be seeing red, and he'll know that his championship now is under threat. He was runner-up last year to Stefano Comini. It all went down to Macau in the last race, and he felt unfairly dealt with in Macau. This year was all about revenge, and this could be the end of that revenge. There is the Drivers' Championship then, 2 points, the gap between Nash and Comini. And then, as we say, pretty significant gap now of 16 points down to Oriola. John Carbonet not quite as close as I thought he would be, in 4th position. And then Homela 5th, Morbidelli 6th. Borkovic moves up to 9th. And look at that, Grashov, 4 wins, but yet still only 8th position in the Drivers' Championship. So the 3 cars head under the podium. And Mikhail Grashov, the Russian, is going to be very, very happy with his performance. West Coast Racing as well. "12 victories then for Honda in the TCR International Series, all courtesy of West Coast Racing. What was that? A winning sticker on the side of the Honda. That's a nice little touch from Mikhail Grashov. Quite sure what the rocket stands for. And there is Dusan Borkovic, the incredibly tall Serbian. Yeah, not happy with that. Hot.
In the beginning I was faster, but then I saw it is impossible to pass if I don't hit him, so I didn't want to hit him.
Just saying he was faster, but he realised it was going to be impossible to pass without contact. And I think we saw that really.
Serbian, I believe.
Serbia. He's talking French to us for.
Now radio discussion.
So Grashov there, talking with his West Coast team. All smiles, didn't have to do too much defending, had it under control throughout the race. There's team manager James Nixon. And Nash is happy as well. A podium for Oriola for the Craft Bamboo guys in race 1, and James Nash grabs their 2nd podium. That was their target with their weight that they had. And it'd be interesting to see what the weight does for our next race in Malaysia, because no one really has had a dominant weekend, have they? They've all kind of picked up similar amounts of points. I think James Nash might be quite frustrated if he ends up with those results and yet still having to carry weight for our Malaysian rounds in 2 weeks' time. Especially as it'll be even hotter and even more humid when we head off to Malaysia, which is some 8 hours drive away from here in Singapore.
We'll do it next time. Actually involved.
Lots of chat down in the paddock. Let's get them up to the podium, shall we? James Nash hydrating a little bit with some water, just to line the stomach before he can celebrate with some champagne up on our podiums. Quick look at race director Tony Whittaker there on the left-hand side. Just awaiting our 3rd driver to mount the podium. Well, the TCR International Series put on a fantastic show in 2015. Perhaps not quite as good a show in 2016. Frustration with the safety cars, no doubt. But such a privilege to be on this championship bill, to support the Formula One at one of the most important and prestigious Formula One races of their year, this Singapore Grand Prix. To be racing on the morning of race day, as everyone gets excited, is a real privilege. So here come the drivers, past the Singapore Airlines air hostesses. James Nash. I think he feels like he might have got away with it. I'm not sure he felt like he had the car to hold on to a podium.
Nice.
And I quite like the fact that we have 3 different drivers on the podium from yesterday, showing the variety in TCR.
That's what they were. That's what I was going to pick up.
6 different drivers on the podium in the 2 races here in Singapore. So let's get them onto the podium then. That wonderful structure that is transported around the world with Formula One. And we're just awaiting
Here we
Nash.
come onto the podium then, the
Borkovic.
second podium for TCR International Series. In third place, James Nash of
Mikhail
Great Britain.
Grashov. There is Nasher though, he's held on to his championship lead. 2 points the gap to Stefano Camini. He survived another weekend, and I think he really feels like he got away with something there. There's Dusan Borkovic. He doesn't need a podium, such as how tall he is. And Mikhail Grashov will be on the podium. And how about this? The Russian national anthem will play.
Congratulations to Mikhail Grachev and to West Coast Racing. The trophies are presented by Piercarlo Botello, CEO of SEL Sport and Event Logistic.
So our event organisers then presenting the trophies to our top 3 drivers, to Mikhail Grashov, to Dusan Borkovic, and to James Nash. Yeah, Nash is happy about this, and he's about to head off on holiday for 10 days, relax and enjoy himself before getting back to racing in Malaysia.
The celebration!
And it's time then to get that bubbly spraying. It should be nice and cold, nice and cooling. And it's lovely to see a podium where all the drivers are super happy. Probably a frustrating race for the drivers though, with 2 safety car periods. For Grashov though, it means he wins, and for James Nash it means he holds on with a very heavy car. Now the challenge of trying to get Dusan Borkovic in a photo. And James Nash isn't that short, neither is Mikhail Grashov. Yeah, Dusan, get on the next step down. There we go. They all look like they're in the similar heights. One more step to go for Dusan to pick up that first elusive TCR International Series win. And that is your podium for race 2. A wonderful weekend here in Singapore. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the Malaysian Grand Prix, where we'll be once supporting.
Fantastic work, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. Great racing of the team. I happen to stand by the side to begin with. Wow, 260 off and you like you can like it.
Yeah, finally we are a lot more about it. I think we're pretty sure. I
As far as feeling like very, very good.
Dusan Vukovic.